Good evening, everyone. In the last 2-3 years, we have witnessed a revolutionary change in the way we transact, and there was an exponential growth in the digital payment transactions. New technologies emerged to improve the customer experience, and also concerns raised about the rising trends in the related tackle these challenges and secure the digital space to prevent the fraud. We have an expert with us today to answer all our queries. I welcome Ms. Babita BP, Head of Information Security at CSB Bank Limited, formerly known as Catholic Syrian Bank. Ms. Babita has 21 plus years of vast experience in IT and information security in banking and finance sector with immense knowledge in security product implementation. She is part of Mentors Association for Cybersecurity and also an ISACA board member. A speaker in many international cybersecurity summits and events. She is also a recipient of many awards and honors, including Top 100 CISO Award in 2019, 2020, and 2021. InfoSec Masters Award again in Leader of Excellence Award by Women Economic Forum, Women Leader of the Year 2021 Information Security Banking by Alton and NASCOM, and the list goes on. With great pleasure, I invite Ms. Babita to FDPPI Jnanavarthini. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Manju. It is indeed a great honor for me to be part of this group. I'm just here to share my thoughts and ideas, and always free to hear from you and learn from you, all senior persons in the community. So when it comes to data privacy, we all are eagerly waiting for the bill to come into existence. So let me share my presentation. It is just a few slides which I have made. Instead of a presentation, I rather feel like we can have an open discussion so that we can benefit each other. So the topic for the day is security measures for digital payment frauds. So as you all know, cyber frauds and cyber attacks are there much earlier also. And but it is not new, but I don't know why we are talking about it every day. That is the question which comes to my mind. Now, every day, one or the other way, we are always talking about cyber frauds. Why? If we take the statistics, which is in the last statistic given in March 2022, when it comes to data breach, India stands in the 5th position. But I feel if we had some bill or policy in place for data protection, India will be in the top 3. Hope you people also will agree to me. Because during the pandemic, lot of small supermarkets have come up with website. Are they following any rules and regulations, or are they having any measures, security measures, wherein they capture or ensure the data which they have collected is secure? Are they doing it? Is there any organization who is keeping a tab on that? Only those data breach which is affected to a bigger community is being highlighted. And that is why we stand in the 5th position. So I've told you that one of the main reasons for data breach is the lack of security. Is it just because of the lack of security? We have, during this time period, these are some of the which is known breaches which has happened, which is also well known by you people also. It is Domino's, Facebook, Big Basket, Air India. What makes the difference? Is the public aware of if a data or breach has happened to Facebook, how it is affecting them? Do you know, do any one of us or any community or organization has come forward to educate them the pros and cons of data breach in such places? Air India or Big Basket or wherever we are sharing our card details. How securely the card data is being stored. How the fraudsters are making use of this data. Are we aware of that? There holds the importance of the data protection bill, which we all are eagerly waiting for. That is that mobile number. Now, during this pandemic, one point I would like to highlight here is, earlier, if in the banking statistics, if we can take, digital channels has been only used by educated people. So hardly it came around to 30% before 2018. Okay. Now, if we see the percentage of total Indian population who is using the digital channels, it may be Google Pay, UPI, or any means for day-to-day activity. I think even when we are going for a drive in an auto, we are making the payment through Google Pay. We have changed, a tremendous change has happened in these 2 years. Whether this person who is using the Google Pay know what are the main thing that they have to secure, the mobile number, wherein the application has been installed. That mobile number is given everywhere. For taking a SIM, we are just giving an Aadhaar or a KYC document and signing it and giving to someone. We are least bothered who will be using this data. All this third party or vendor, who is managing this entity, how they are going to use our data. Do we have any idea? That also is one of the reason for data breaches. And it is that whenever a breach happens, I will say there is always an internal threat involved in it. Because even a cyber fraud, so when we come across our day-to-day activity, or whenever I am coming across many of the cyber frauds which has been reported by our customers, 90%, here the rating is in the scale of 5. Okay. More than 95% of the people says that I have shared the OTP, or I have forwarded something, or I have installed a NIDAS application or some kind of application. They even doesn't know what the application is for. They will say, I have just clicked on a link which has come by SMS. Something I got installed, I am not sure. After that, I lost money from my account. That is the only information which has been told to. And now also 95% of the frauds which are happening is that way. Here, again, one question comes in my mind is, from where they are getting the mobile number of these people to which the SMS is being sent. There should be some source which says that these people are there, or so I have used some application, or whether it payment of a KSEB bill or anything it could be. From where they are getting this number, mobile number. Mobile is plays a very key role in our day-to-day activities nowadays. Are we ever worried about this mobile number? Then even coming more into the ransomware. Earlier, people were ready to give ransom money because they want to take it. Now we have started taking backups. Then what happened? They started taking the data out and publishing in the media. There comes the branding. And because of the name loss or the trust which customers have with us, we started worrying more about the ransomware. Rather than, because we know our technologically we are capable enough to retain our systems, but still the data which we hold is when it has been published, sometimes it might be some email IDs, or because many of the data which has been posted is in bits and bytes. We doesn't know what it actually means. Sometimes they will share some card number. In the card number, entire card number details is never available in those sites. Dark web, sometimes we get message that in the dark web some card details are available. But when we go for this, but we find that only bits and bytes of data is available. But somewhere they are getting this data and they are trying to blackmail the organization and others by using this data. So data is a mine now. Everyone is behind the data. And people who are using this doesn't know the importance of it. There lies the basic problem of data privacy. In India, 31% of Indians lost money due to cyber attack just because of their unawareness. What to do? What kind of data? Even we see the phishing mails which has been generated in the name of big brands like Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, PayPal, all these things. Why still they are, even if they are big players and they have a very good security system in place, they have the capability of rogue URL or their brand monitoring and all those stuff, but still their links are being used for impersonation. So what is lacking in that? So these are the questions which need to find an answer for bringing down the data breach. And answer to all these questions is here also. This is what I have explained earlier. That is the modus operandi of the cyber frauds. If we see this is the data, it is the recent data. The self-initiated fraud, that is, they are admitting that they have shared is 57%. Here comes the importance of awareness. QR code scan, app, there is fraudulent apps which has been used. UPI, people doesn't know how to use it. When a request comes, they accept the request with the feel that the money will be credited to their account. So they doesn't know what is. Why? Because in many of these applications, local language is not being used. All the instructions is being given in English. How many of the people knows English? How many of them can follow the instructions which is provided in the app? Are we taking any effort to teach the people to how to use the app and how not to use the app? What will be the consequence if we are not careful in using those app things which has been provided to them? So that is also one of the things which has led to most of the frauds. Then fake SMS intent. That is a common thing which is happening. Then remote access, installing the apps, and SMS spoofing. Now with the SMS spoofing and all those things, now there are some limitations which has brought in place by the banking people like us, wherein we will be even in the mobile SMS forwarding also. Now, once we link the SIM card with the OTP, while checking that by verifying that from the SIM wherein the SMS is being sent, that from there only the response is coming. So that if we verify that, then to a certain extent, OTP is spoofing or OTP hijacking will come to an end. We cannot say it will come to an end, can be reduced to a certain extent. So that is what we want to go for, different types of combinations of authentication. Biometric also has its own flaws in it. So every lock has a key, but how wisely we are going to come up with technology, and not only coming up with technology, we should even make the people understand how this technology can be useful for them, as well as it can cause problem to them. If we know the two sides of the sword, then only we will be able to understand and use it in a proper way. Here, I think all of you agree, 95% of the cybersecurity breaches are caused by human error. Cyber fraud is by human error. People are replying to the fraudsters. See, how many years Google or Facebook is known to us? Maybe 30 years. And if you are in 30s or 40s, and many of you are more than that, but one sir has told that they are not that too technical. But those people are two techies and more into Google and Facebook, these companies know much more than what their spouse knows about. Hope you people agree with that. And it is this knowledge which is creating all the problems and regarding the data breach. This is a simple thing which I want to tell. It is just to highlight the third party, how third party is cross-selling the data. In very lot of advertisements are coming to us. Have we ever thought about it? How these advertisements are highlighting to our web page, wherein we have just scanned once or searched for it once. From there onwards starts the third party data sale. And are there any policy or anything in our country which can control it? Or are we aware of the importance of this? These are the list of fake apps which is used for loan generation. Just see how many apps are there. Who is keeping a tab of these apps? Is there any entity who ensures that this app is an authenticated app? Anyone certifies that this is a legitimate app and it can be used for this purpose? Any community or any organization is there where we can get certified for that? Don't you think that it is required? Because we are now moving to 100% digitalization. How a common man can understand the app which has been given to them is a authenticated app or not? Because what we are instructing, even from the bank, we might be sending an SMS and giving a link or direction to go and download. They cannot understand whether it is a legitimate app or not. There are so many Chinese apps available. So many frauds are happening with that app. Who is going to control that? We need some entity who should be authorized to authenticate that this app is a legitimate app and can be rolled out to the customers. There should be something of that kind. Unless and until, I don't think there will be a stop or there will be some measures that we can take to contain such kinds of things. Sorry. Now, these are some of the fraud things which has happened or which I would like to share, and what we can do or what measures we need to take to fight with this kind of things. Some of my thought process is 100% we have to create awareness in the public about the importance of data sharing. That is, if a mobile number, we never care for our mobile number. Whoever asks, we are just sharing our mobile number. Before sharing, we have to keep in mind why I should share my data to this particular thing. Many a times we have come across many apps which we are installing in our mobile. Just imagine a weather app. Why it needs the contact details? How many of us think about it? And if we are not giving the access, the app itself is not working. So the people who develop the app also should certify that what purpose the data is being used or why that particular data is being asked for. So if we come with such stringent policies or actions, definitely before asking for some data, they will check whether it is required or not, because otherwise tomorrow it will be a bit headache for them. The penalty, GDPR, because of the penalty to the government. Otherwise, many of them may not be reporting and they won't even think about such things. So unless and until we are getting penalized or any actions, many of the organization doesn't take enough steps. Then authenticity of the mobile application and website. There should be some organization who should authenticate the mobile application, whether it is a genuine app or not. The website, whether it is a legitimate website or not. Lot of phishing websites are being growing every day, which is being used for even targeted attacks, command and control invocation, and all those sort of things. So whenever a website is, at least in India, can we come with some kind of such things? Collect only the data required and tell the customer. That is what it is covered in the GDPR and other policies, that tell the customer the purpose of data, how it will be used, till what time it will be used, and how it is going to be retained. All those things, even from the third party whom we are delivering that service for processing the data, we should keep in mind. Now, I don't think many of the people does that. Then central body to evaluate and the credibility of the website. The organization should share links in the community, avoid sharing links in the communication with the customers. Now, we are very much interested in giving every service in a capsule format. When things are more easy, flaws in the system will also increase. So why can't a customer, if they want something, why can't they go to a website and search for that? Why should we simply send a link and give an option to the fraudster to hijack the link or send some malicious link to the customer? If we have a policy that these banks or some organization who are doing the payment will never share some link in the communication, then customer, even if some link comes, they will say, okay, it is a fake link. The bank is not going to send this link. We have to take some kind of initiative in a common way so that it will be beneficial for the public. Then mobile applications that we are already, banks are working in that before the application has been opened, it will search for any screen sharing software or malicious softwares are available in the system. All those things will be checked by this opening, but still we should educate the customer not to download unwanted things and not to use this mobile for which is used for transaction for any other purpose than like play. Kids might sometimes use this for downloading games and playing, in which there will be some hidden malwares in that. So that kind of authentication also should be available in that. And SMS authentication should be done with SIM binding, which is already, the banks are in the process of doing it to avoid the OTP forwarding and all. Then mobile biometric authentication, it is possible only if we have a smartphone. So we have to think about some other authentication methodologies wherein the customers won't lose the money, and tokenization or something of that kind. Additional authentication methodologies also need to be put in place. Above all, what action we are going to take when it comes to third party vendor management? Because ultimately now everything is in the cloud. People are rushing to the cloud. How we are going to secure the data in the cloud is a big question. Even if we say that it is secured, unless and until someone audit physically, I don't think we can 100% accept that it is fully secured. So it is entire society who have to work for this. It is not only a single person or an organization who have to think about the data breaches or cyber frauds which is occurring. It is the security is everyone's responsibility, right from the person who is using, the people who are delivering it, and who is processing it. And above all, government, they should come up with policies, stringent policies, which make sure that only the right data is being captured from the people and is being used in the right way. And that message should be given to the organization, and the organization have to follow it, and public should be aware of this, and they should be smart enough to question the organization and government if something goes wrong. To fight against cyber frauds and data breaches, it is the joint effort that need to be taken by all of us. So these are some of the points which I would like to highlight, because I haven't gone deep into each and every frauds. Now I am happy to answer to the questions.
Thank you, Ms. Babita. I have one question. When this last 2-3 years, when this volume of this digital transactions, went exponentially high, how did the banks, how did the banks find it as a challenge, and how did you tackle it?
See, volume increase of the digital channel, I don't think it is a problem, because operational issue always exists in the technological field. It is the duty of the organization to ensure that, because we can calculate, if we monitor the performance of each and every applications regularly, I can 100% tell that on a single day 100% utilization will never come. If when the utilization almost reaches to 70%, we should be capable enough to come up with a solution to understand that and take necessary action to accept the extra additional volume of transaction which is coming. So if the bank is facing some problem of that kind, it is 100% there will be either it could be a DDoS kind of attack, wherein flooding with the this thing, so that definitely they should be having a anti-DDoS kind of solution in place where they can contain with the targeted attack. Other than that, if it is a normal transaction, definitely the operational team should be monitoring it, and such kind of things may not occur.
Madam, I have a small question. Advocate Limay here.
Yes, sir.
My simple question is, what measures have been initiated by IT team for checking repeated or similar transaction in night hours? I will give you example. 60 transactions occurred, 10,000 each, from 12:00 a.m. to 3:25 a.m. Now, where is the dynamic check mechanism, or what is the mechanism installed by IT departments to check such type of transactions?
Yeah, I understood your question. So it is actually handled by the fraud risk monitoring department. Okay, and the solution will be provided or supported by the IT team. When it comes to such kind of, in my environment, I can definitely say that such kind of transactions is definitely monitored, and immediately we are taking necessary measures to call the customer when it is we see that it is, and if we are not able to reach to the customers, we are blocking their account. And here the flaw comes wherein the rules may not work. Anyway, all the banks are having the fraud risk monitoring team. So, but there may not be solutions which might be monitoring inline, but real time. Even if it is not real time, NPCI itself has given the data for monitoring for the banks, which will be a near real time kind of thing, which can be even used by the bankers to check such kind of transactions and alert the customers and take necessary measures. And even in addition to this, I will tell you, now for all digital channels, we can set a limit. That is one of the RBI instructions, wherein whether we need to use, sometimes I may not be using internet banking. I might be using only mobile banking or UPI app for transferring fund. Then why should I enable the internet banking? So that is what customers also, even if we are giving all these kind of solutions to them, how many of them knows that such a kind of facility is available with the bank, or they can use that? So these are the flaws or the gaps which we have to fix. Definitely, there are fraud risk monitoring solution which monitors this. We are, even in that I can even tell you the frequency, more than 5 transactions or 3 transactions to a particular beneficiary. That itself is being monitored. Then volume also monitored. The amount, if it is beyond 50,000 or 1 lakh, it depends on bank to bank customer. Threshold is being fixed, which can be monitored. All these things is ultimately the bank's policy. How much threshold we have to fix. Hope I am
follow question. When bank provides online banking solutions or online facilities to customer, what I have observed is by default they set the limits at the maximum. You said that customer is initiated to lower the limits, Why it cannot be otherwise? You set the limit at lowest, then customer will be compelled to learn and then set the limit at higher levels. What is your take on that?
Yes, sir. So here in my bank, we have set the limit as 50,000. Okay. But it can go up to 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs. That is what I'm telling you. Depending on bank to bank, they take a call. If someone feels that some business team feels that my customers are elite customers and average transaction done by most of my customers are more than 1 lakh, if they are fixing to a higher limit, that is a bank's call.
I just thanks for the information. Just a general observation here in UK, they've recently, since February 2022, they've brought in a new thing about payment, transfer of money and everything else. They will check and cross-check and verify if the person you are paying is legit. They have verified their KPIs and also their address is registered correctly, etc. So this has started to streamline in many, and one of the major players is Barclays Bank, their track record is really superb. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, many losses occurred during the COVID all over the world. If you come to think of it, because even we get text messages even today that we are calling from the HMRC, the tax office. Please click on this to have your refund of £200, and all the people do get excited about it, but that excitement can turn into real challenging times. But those things have started to stop because of where it's coming from and the investigations that go on. So the verification of the app also is controlled by the financial authority here now. So that is something new which has come. So every time, even if I make a very small amount of payment, I have to verify the name of the person, verify, it will ask me about 3 times before it's all authorized. And also that the person where you are paying or you are going to allow the money, and you can't just set up a direct debit also. That has also been restricted now. So that's something been happening. I mean, learning from across the global tragedy of for the victims, And in just last year, there were 455 million was lost in just in 2019 just for the app scams, So you can see where all these things are coming from. Thanks. Sorry.
There are a couple of questions in the chat room, Babita.
There is one question from
Babita,
Adapti
quick
sir.
question here, if I can say. Yeah, hi sir. Hi. As a CISO, right? You are like even in you are in security, and what keeps you awake? I mean, it's a general question. Any like a known unknown or unknown like black swan events? That is one thing. And I was going through this, in your slides. Right, one of the slides you said advanced persistent threats. And these are actually not sponsored by, they are actually state sponsored, not like individual like me, because a lot of resources are involved in that. And could you, if possible, could you give us an example, or maybe two possible, any countries like North Korea is, I think, is one of the, top, player there. I think, did anything happen to your bank? You don't have to go in detail and explain any APT things happened with your bank or any other banks. You don't have to name the banks. I mean, how did you, handle that situation?
I would tell that with the cybersecurity framework, which has come in 2016 by RBI, I would say that our bank's position is much better than when compared to other part of the world. That is because we have lot of security tools and measures. We have taken a lot of security measures to ensure that no bank has been breached or targeted. But still, as I have told, every lock has a key. If I am coming up with a user behavior analysis based technology to understand that there is any malware residing in the system, the same technology will be used by the attackers to get into my system. They will study my system, see whatever security tools are available in the system. And see, when it comes to SolarWinds, simple case, There's no need to explain my own case. That is because by God's grace, we didn't have such a kind so far. I don't think in India, any of the banks has had, other than the Cosmos and all, I don't think this kind of an attack has happened recently. But when it comes to a solar wind attack, what has happened? It is they have injected the malicious code in the patch updation. See, we will be updating our patches regularly. And from what the fraudsters will, this patch is a whitelisted thing. When they are downloading this patch, it will hide behind that patch and slowly will start acting on it. So that is the way now attack vectors are moving. But since even if it happened, that is what I always tell my team members also, that don't think that we will never get attacked or we have enough security measures with us. Just think that we will get attacked. Okay, how fast we are able to detect it. That is our capability. So we are trying to build the team for identifying the threat. Zero-day vulnerability. How, unless and until some company tells that this is a fraudulent app or this is a malicious IOC or anything of that kind, no one is coming to check for that IOC. Once that attack happens, after that only we will be searching for the IOCs and blocking it in the firewall or taking some measures. But if I am the victim, first time, how I am going to identify it? There comes the AI technology, the importance of SIEM tool, correlation. This kind of traffic didn't come from my server for the last 10 days. Suddenly this server started communicating to a different IP. Why it is happening? So immediately my team should get alerted of that and have to analyze on that and have to act on it. So this is the kind of stress we CISOs are having to analyze the unknown traffic which has been generated.
Okay, one last question. See, there is no, what you call shortage for the social engineers. Like, if you look at Kevin Metney, so many guys are there. They're always 10 steps ahead than the security people like you. And what are you still using the traditional methods of keeping these customers awareness, or are you using any unorthodox, methods of training? What kind of, mechanisms you guys are using? Make sure at least we are there. Maybe you are not like, ahead, but they're always ahead to beat that, because one of the weakest link is human beings, right? We get trapped with whatever that, social engineering thing happens. Nobody can, especially educated people, fall in trap. Okay, that's the fact. So what kind of a trainings you guys are offering in your bank actually, to make sure customers are really, aware of all these, things? Unorthodox, maybe not the traditional one,
Yeah. See, I would like to say human is the weakest and the strongest link, rather than telling them as a weakest link, because they are psychologically they are being taken into such a scenario where they are following the instructions given by the fraudster. Okay, that is a psychological game which is happening, but it is the strongest link that we ourselves identify that this is a fraudulent call, and I haven't invested any money to this person, or there's no need for me to give this, or anything of that kind should strike me. So my mind should work like that. So I am the strongest link there to beat these fraudsters. So that is the message which I am trying to give to my customers, that you are the one who decides whether to be a prey of these people. Don't think before, and I have every time we are sending message to them that don't follow the instructions over phone. Act afterwards. Whenever we are attending to a phone call and following the instructions, our brain only works. We never think what is going wrong. That is the psychological thing which has been used by the fraudsters to defraud the customer.
Thanks, man.
Babita, has Reserve Bank of India given any clarifications about the certain guidelines?
Yes, sir. Certain guidelines they have given, but the thing is, like, since we are already following all these things based on the cybersecurity framework earlier, there is no much of change when it comes to BFSI. It will be more into the companies, other companies other than BFSI. They have to follow it, because now also if some incident happens, we have to report it within 4 hours. they have given some criteria. If it is amount is this much, or if the CBS system is down for more than this much time. So we have to report it even otherwise also. So it doesn't make any sense for us with the new circular. But only some more clarifications, like this kind of fraudulent things which is happening for their customers. What they are telling is there is no need to report, but if it is a something new kind of thing, they can just be reported, but not as an incident. It is just for reporting purpose, we can do that. That we are already doing in a quarterly statements which we are submitting, how many customers, what are the modus operandi, all those things we are already reporting. So it doesn't comes a separate thing for us. And even the timestamp, that also we are following. So there's no major change from the new circular.
Sorry, one more question wanted to ask is does your bank or any other banks have got a facility like because where corporate organizations versus the local council, for example, when they generate bills for the work done for the local boroughs or councils, and the bills are sent via email, encrypted emails. They are still being hacked anyway, regardless, some of them, and local councils lose a lot of money. But they send the invoices with a new bank account and new details. Is there any mechanism, or is it, like you said, human eyes are important?
No, but email, we have given instruction to the bankers that don't act on email confirmations. Because the email can be hacked very well, because most of this will be Gmail account, and or authenticity of this and all cannot be kept in place. So hard-coded, they have to share some other evidences which stands with this email should be there, because there are instances wherein people have lost money by following this email instruction. So after one incident, we have taken strict instruction that not to follow it. They have to get substantial evidence that this is the right person who is asking for it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Advocate Lima here, another question. In digital scenario, which branch's responsibility is to report AML activities, anti-money laundering? Because now core banking, nobody knows whose base bank is which. So it is which branches or which HO's responsibility to report AML activities?
That is a dedicated department is there, because as you mentioned, core banking, since it is core banking from the central itself, we will be able to identify what kind of transaction from which account, which place, which branch, everything is readily available in one shot. So that continuously monitoring is happening, and that particular department is liable for, we call it as a PMLA department or transaction monitoring department. There are different banks called that department. It is a central department which is there in all the banks. It is one of the RBI guidelines. I'm not sure whether it is a Gopalakrishna committee or the other thing. I'm not sure. Anyway, in that it is transaction monitoring is specifically mentioned. It is a Gopalakrishna committee recommendation. Transaction monitoring is specifically mentioned, and it is a centralized monitoring need to be done. And based on that, the respective instructions are given to the branches, because branch only knows the KYC have to do the due diligence of the customer, and they have to report within 24 hours.
Thank you.
There is a question from Adaptu sir. In the technology-driven banking operations, how banks are looking at inside threats and how they are handling. Adaptu sir, would you like to elaborate on the question?
Manju, there's no, see, as she told, humans are most strongest as the weakest link. Particularly banking is a people business, as I know. So most of the banks are outsourcing it, particularly non-employees are more active in operations than the employees. So in that scenario, how the banks, because I left the bank almost a decade back, and I not work in the front of the bank, that's why in the technology area, how the banks are looking at the insider threats posed by the people. There may be so many motives for the doing the fraud, anything. So how that technology?
Yeah, what you mentioned is correct. That is why RBI is even coming for a separate circular for third-party risk management outsourcing activity and all. Because now it is a big challenge. We know what is happening in our environment only if he doesn't know what is happening in a third-party environment. So as a CISO, what I am doing is when I whatever work with respect to IT, I will do an audit review. I cannot do the audit. I will be doing a review. The audit will be done by IS audit team. The review of the outsource agency or a solution. I ensure that I have given a proper checklist to ensure that the necessary ISO certification or PCI DSS compliance or IS audit, which has done earlier, SOC 2 compliance report, all those reports, whichever is required, I have to collect it and I will be verifying it. All these are only 75% acceptable. That I always believe in that because it is a third party which is not known to me. And above all, as you rightly mentioned, third party risk always is available. Now the certain circular will stands good for all these people, and they will, those people are with digital payment and all those things and supporting to BFSI or of all those things. There should be a common policy wherein they have to follow standard, especially as I started my discussion with highlighting on the supermarket website, who is what and all security feature need to be taken care if a person have to host a website in India. Something of that kind should come, or at least for those people wherein money is or data has been captured or some transaction has been done. So all those things we have to again work on it so that all these kinds of 30%, the remaining 30% can be reduced.
Yeah, Babita, this in 2017, Reserve Bank of India came up with this limited liability circular.
Limited liability.
Yeah, according to which the banks should have a policy of zero liability for the first 3 days, and between 3 to 7 days, banks will have to have a policy of how they try to provide compensation or return of the money. I have not so far come across any policy posted on the website of a bank about how they are handling the limited liability obligations. Have your bank come up with a policy for that, for public this thing?
I'm not sure, sir. I have to check because this
It
comes to
is
business part. I am
actually-
purely technical person.
Correct. It
I'm
is
not
actually
sure.
mandatory. Okay. Now you said you are a technical person. Now, another thing we are asking banks is why they are not introducing digital signatures as one of the optional methods of authentication.
Yes, sir. When we that was there for a long time. I think almost 5 years back itself, the digital signature thing was in place. But the problem is in law, we have to accept. We are telling that digital signatures are accepted, but still there are some apprehensions somewhere. So many a times when we go for the legal entity clearance and all, they are still showing some discrepancies. But during this pandemic, I should say, people started accepting the digital signature, and we are going for it.
Now, of course, we are talking of digital signature as per Information Technology Act, which is a PKI based,
Yes.
with certificate issued by one of the licensed certifying authorities.
Yes.
The problem was more on the technical side because to have a reliable technical facility for authentication verification of this was an issue more than the law. But again, actually, a few banks actually introduced it. For example, Corporation Bank had announced that it will be used for current account customers. I think PNB also had made an announcement. I'm talking of what they wrote on the website. But in practice, very few banks, or perhaps none of them, went in for digital signatures. What we were expecting is at least for large transactions, you fix a limit, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, something. Digital signature should be made mandatory because it will actually safeguard the bank's interest more than anybody else, because the security of the private key becomes the responsibility of the customer. Whereas using of the password, the bank takes more responsibility.
No, I will tell you, sir, why it is not happening is, to my understanding, which I have gone through many of the committees, because it doesn't come to my thing, that number of customers who want on digital signature is less.
I understand.
Big corporates are asking for it.
Yeah.
Other than that, not much of people are coming because they are not aware of how to use it, or they don't
Agreed.
want to get into this unnecessary downloading, keeping the key and all those stuff. So many a times I have seen that only big corporates are coming for that, and that too now with the corporate net banking and all. No, so I don't think even that is required.
Okay, now actually things have become much easier than what it was about 5-10 years back. Because, for example, eMudra has got one scheme where for 500 rupees for the full year, you can sign as many documents as possible with the digital signature. So, it's only a question of putting your Aadhaar number.
Yeah, that is what.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
no, I will tell you, sir, in the income tax return filing also. Okay.
Yeah.
Earlier, only few people like us have digital keys who
Yeah.
are using that. Now no one is using because Aadhaar has come into this thing. So many a times, even if there also, we have to sign in and send it initially.
Correct. Say that also can be used in a insecure manner. That can happen. But something banks should think of. Another thing, you said you are a technical person. Now, do you have a designated ITA compliance person or a data protection officer in your organization?
No, we don't have.
You must be having a lot of NRI accounts actually from.
Yeah, we have NRI accounts and all those things. Right now, all these things are done by the legal team or something. And you know, in India, we are not having a data protection or anything of that kind. Now, CISOs are only behind this data breach and all those things. And we say that it is not, at least from the technological perspective of the solution perspective, not from the hardcore data which has been captured from the branch end. So I think we are waiting for this, and we have told in IDRBT meetings, CISO forum also, don't make CISO as a data protection officer.
Correct.
It should be put to someone else. So I think that is also under discussion. Unless and until something comes from the regulators, no one will act. Otherwise, CISO, if one questionnaire was there, in that CISO's name only has been given as a data protection officer.
Okay. Yeah. Because I know that some banks were actually looking at one point of time for GDPR compliance because they had branches
outside India.
Region. Now your branches
we don't have.
You don't have, but you have got customers from Gulf area. You must
we
be
have
customers. Okay.
But only if our service has been provided there, we have to comply with GDPR. Otherwise, if they are using, it's not required. Only thing, if something breach happens, they can question us for how we are storing the data.
Okay, good.
And many a times they will be giving the local address, the local data.
Yeah.
So that won't be a problem.
True. Yeah. Right.
Any other questions or inputs from anyone? Okay. So thank you so much, Ms. Babita. It was a very engaging and interactive session. Thank you very much for all the knowledge shared and from FDPPI. We hope to continue to associate with you in all our future programs. And Mr. Ramesh had already talked to you, but he couldn't join today because of some personal emergency. Thank you. Kodandram sir, would you like to add something?
No, I have nothing. Ramesh of NABARD also. I don't know whether, so he may have something to say. Yeah, Kodandram, go ahead.
I have nothing because I'm legal aspects you have spoken very well, and technology I'm a big zero. So don't have to worry. I'm having least trouble in going through this.
Yeah, we have Ramesh Kauta, who was formerly working in NABARD. Ramesh, you have anything to add?
No, I think Babita has actually kind of read my mind. Some of the things what she said in terms of sending the links from the banks, etc. I would say that they are encouraging more of the malpractices and then encouraging the fraudsters to use it. So if they stop sending those links, I think it will be helpful. And Ms. Babita, I agree with that. That's really a good comment there. And again, I think sometimes the CISOs or the CIOs need to look at how they're promoting technology. Sometimes it is actually misleading and falling in the wrong hands. Maybe that's an internal decision to be done. But I think it's a well-covered session. Thank you, sir.
Now, she was talking about this list of fake loan apps. Okay. Now, why can't the bankers themselves take the lead of identifying some of those things? Do you have a bankers CISO club or something like that, which can actually act as, of course, there was at a time, there was a discussion about a cert for banks separately. Okay. Now, privately, banks can they or not come together and then start some information exchange about these fake apps? Because in the latest 13 guidelines, one of the vulnerabilities they have listed is about fake apps. Yeah. So if we know that there are fake apps and it is it may be not connected with any bank, that is one thing. But there can also be sometimes apps which are trying to have confusing names with some banks. Okay, so should not the bankers themselves have a consortium for collecting such information, making it available to public in some way or something like that?
Yes, sir. When it comes to our own bank apps, okay, if we have some solutions in place which will be monitoring for look-like or kind of thing which similar is our bank's name or domain or anything of that kind, whichever is coming to our knowledge, we are bringing it down. There also we have to follow a lot of procedures for bringing the apps down, but which may not sometimes work. The problem here is the law of the land. We cannot go and bring some app down just because it looks like my app name or something. We should have to do further investigation of what kind of data need to be collecting from that app and all those things, and we have to take it across. So for that, I think there should be a strong community or a policy in place. Even you see the case of WhatsApp and Facebook and all, even if the government is asking for something, they are reluctant. Then how can you think that a small group of CISOs can come and do this? So definitely it should be from the government which have to act.
I understand.
Have to come
I understand government can have from the Ministry of Information Technology, or in your case, Reserve Bank of India can have it. In fact, about 15 years back, I had promoted the idea of lookalikes.com. Even now it's available, lookalikes.in website. You can see that was actually.
The problem is.
What I'm saying there is, the suggestion was to give a disclaimer from my side. For example, in my side, I say, I have no relationship with navi.co.in because I normally get a lot of inquiries from this new Flipkart promoted company, navi.co.in. They give a lot of spam calls and other things. Sometimes people search and come back to me and they find out my telephone number and call. So I had created at that time itself a disclaimer kind of a thing. That is, in my side, I will give a disclaimer that I am not associated with ABCDE, which are lookalikes. So like that, suppose there are such lookalikes, even without any legal taking down and other things, on your website, whether a disclaimer can be given, because you have to also be worried about, say, copyright issues or defamation issues. Suppose a genuine person, you can't say that it is fraud or something like that. But the disclaimer you can always give. Suppose you say CSB. I don't know what is your current URL.
CSB.co.in and CSB.net. We have 2-3 domains.
Something else which is similar to that. At least you can give a disclaimer that this is not our
That definitely banks can do, but the purpose what we are working on doesn't, because ultimately the public should know.
no,
Who is
public
coming to the
place to verify,
website and
no?
see that? Yeah, they have to verify. How
No.
many of them we have educated them to look and go and look into the website? Since we know about it, we know the consequences where we have to search. See, other days, just imagine by searching for Google helpline, how many people have lost money.
Correct. Yeah.
So that first we have to reach to the, see, we say we can cross only through white and black lane. Okay. There is any strict rule that we are following it? People even cross the road without that. Only when the policy comes from the government and we get penalized for crossing that.
In your case, it can be done by IDA, RBT, or RBI. You don't have to wait for the government.
Yeah, that's some governing entity.
Yeah.
Some governing entity should put up this.
Yeah.
And Navi sir, I think some of the banks actually use the brand monitoring tools and
services,
which they basically control some of the stuff to at least internally inform them.
Yeah.
But now will be banks be able to communicate to outside? Is that a question? Because again, that becomes a bit of a exercise. But some are doing internally, but I don't think they're publishing that information.
You can give it as a disclaimer. When you give it as a disclaimer, you are not defaming the other things. You can say you are not connected with navi.org. That is fine. Nobody can take objection to that. No. So whatever you find as lookalikes, you can put them as a disclaimer that I have got nothing to do with this. That's all. I'm not saying that is fraudulent, etc., etc.
Yeah, that can be done. That can be.
Yeah. Any other questions, friends?
I think we'll wind up. Thank you so much, Babita, and thank you everyone for joining and joining. Good night.
Thank you, Babita.
Thank you, sir.